All right, listen. I'm not trying to throw shade over the most brilliance anyone's seen at quarterback for the Bears since Mitchell Trubisky threw 6 touchdowns against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers back in 2018. But everything isn't great for the Bears going into the regular season, despite the fact that they were 3-0 in the preseason. It's actually not that great at all, and let's just start with Justin Fields. The Bears have seen improvements all along in Justin Fields, and they finally became visible to everyone else in their preseason win over the Browns. The coaches have been saying that Fields polished his fundamentals as a passer throughout the offseason, and now offensive coordinator Luke Getsy has tangible proof after 3 touchdown passes and a half. Yeah, he had 3 touchdown passes. But Fields will tell you he was pretty happy that Myles Garrett wasn't playing. And not only was Myles Garrett not playing for the Browns, 4 of their other starters and another quasi-starter weren't on the field for the defense. So it's got to be much different for Fields facing the Browns JV team. Fields ended up finishing the preseason 23 of 30 for 243 yards and 3 touchdowns, with a passer rating of 133.1. He was able to average 8.1 yards per attempt. To Getsy, the improvement is not simply one mechanical aspect in Fields' delivery of the football, but everything from leadership and awareness to his throwing motion. Now that this is Fields' team, and as long as he can stay healthy, the Bears should expect progress going forward and maybe some consistency at the quarterback position. Just as it was when Mitchell Trubisky and Jay Cutler were in Chicago, though Cutler was older and more established when he arrived, he wasn't a finished product. Cutler left Chicago with unrealized hopes and untapped potential. Trubisky left with the realization that he could never live up to his draft slot. Getsy isn't going to make a prediction on what Fields can achieve moving ahead, only what he's capable of doing. Fields' future will be figured out as soon as he gets a season under him. What's known for a fact now, and what everybody's pretty sure about, is the Bears' defense can make some noise and keep them in games until the offense gets it together this season. This idea was pervasive through the defense, whether first, second, or third team. So it's more about the scheme rather than the players. They play a strong zone defense. They limit gains when catches are made with basic fundamental tackling and rarely committed coverage gaffes. The Bears have been looking at different approaches with their defensive front as well. It's been largely in the pass rush where this has happened, but not entirely. During the Lovie Smith era with Rob Marinelli as the defensive coordinator, the Bears didn't refer much to defensive ends or tackles, but instead called them rushmen. It's a similar concept here now in the same scheme. And it involves more than just lining up at end or tackle and rushing. What's certain about the rush and passing situations, especially in games where they have the lead, the Bears will come with plenty of substitutions on the defensive front throughout games. In obvious pass rushing situations, they could even keep 3 or 4 edge rushers on the field at once. Although replacing Jones at tackle will be more for the other guys, because he's a strong rusher at the 3 technique. Mario Edwards Jr. could be on the field with Jones at the tackle spot in the rush. There's been some looks that have shown Travis Gibson lining up at the tackle for the rush beside or in addition to Jones, with Muhammad joined with Robert Quinn at the ends. It could be opponent specific and definitely would be situational. It would seem moving Robert Quinn off the right end spot would be a no-no. He came to Chicago saying he was uncomfortable at going to the left side, perhaps more so even than being asked to drop into pass coverage or as an outside linebacker. Gibson was a college end with his hand in the dirt, became a stand-up linebacker, and now has his hand in the dirt again. But with the way the Bears are mixing up their rush in practice, he can even go from the end to inside at times. One recent was defensive tackle Angelo Blackson's versatility. Never in his career has he been in a 4-3 base defense, so it's pretty easy to think of him as miscast for this one-gap approach as a classical 2-gap player. Instead, he's been lining up occasionally as the 3 technique, and he's made some plays. He had a tip pass in a preseason win against Seattle, and another one in a practice that led to an interception. Both nose tackles, Tonga and Mike Pennell, have surfaced as playmakers. Their backup tackle, Trevin Coley, is leading the team with 3 of their 7 sacks in the preseason. So whatever mixed and matched group they have on the field, there's basically one common theme. The Bears are getting after the quarterback this season. Luke Getsy wasn't going to reveal the starting offensive line for opening day. But if the starting line from the past 3 preseason games isn't intact, except for Lucas Patrick at center, then it's going to be a surprise. It'd be difficult for Getsy to be happier with the play of the line that they started, especially Jenkins. For a Bears team that's reportedly engaged in trade talks for Tevin Jenkins, the Bears sure sound positive about his production at right guard. Ian Rappaport came out on Monday, said the Bears were getting calls about Jenkins and engaging in early discussion.
We'll go to some offensive linemen, some highly drafted offensive linemen. First of all, Tevin Jenkins from the Chicago Bears been the subject of trade calls for a little less than a month now. I know the Chicago Bears, from my understanding, have engaged, have not come up with a deal just yet. Also moved him to guard, and it sounds like he was somewhat impressive there. So I'm not so sure they cut him, but a trade, from my understanding, certainly possible here.
That's quite a bit different than the Bears were shopping Jenkins around, which is how it turned out on social media. What Rappaport didn't say was that the Bears were calling teams and shopping Jenkins around. He never said that. Any player except for Justin Fields or maybe like 1 or 2 other guys, those guys are untouchable. Of course they'd listen to offers. So the rest of the guys are on the trade block. Who knows what some of these desperate teams are going to offer? The only other spot in question on the line remains left tackle. Braxton Jones started every preseason game there, but Getsy found some flaws in how he played early. So they're going to go back to Riley Riff at left tackle, or is Jones shown enough to stay? So it sounds like Braxton Jones at left tackle, Cody Whitehair at left guard, Lucas Patrick at center, Tevin Jenkins at right guard, and Larry Baram at right tackle. This goes beyond their blocking techniques. The way they're playing as a unit, and the way they're backing each other up, case in point when Justin Fields took that cheap shot against Cleveland, is what you want for an offensive line. Alex Leatherwood went from the 17th pick in the draft to cut 1 year later. But the Bears head coach likes giving people fresh starts, and now they're going to try it with the former Raider. When the Raiders cut the 17th pick of the 2021 draft, the Bears were right there to scoop him up. When Leatherwood came out of Alabama, he was widely regarded as a 3rd-round pick by many draft analysts. The Raiders were criticized for reaching when they selected him with the 17th overall pick of the draft, when the Bears later selected Tevin Jenkins. Leatherwood's a great addition, and if they can work with him to get better and learn their style, this could be a steal. Experts and analysts are predicting the Bears will win 3 or 4 games. I'm not so sure. I can see a path to the Bears winning 7 games, maybe even 8. It's possible the Bears commit to the run, tailor the offense to Fields' strengths, and ride a hard-hitting defense to the playoffs. You can't always see what's coming in the NFL, but if you listen, you can hear it. And if you're listening, what's going on in Chicago sounds like progress. So, let's see what happens this season. Hey, yo, I hope you liked the video. You want to hit that like button, maybe subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it. Stay tuned for the next one, and yo, take it easy.